Good evening and welcome to Clark's Bar here in Patrick Street in Mullingar for a special edition of the Iarmhi TV Podcast, because tonight we're going to honour the Minor Football Leinster Champions of 2000 on their 25th year anniversary, and I'm joined by three members of that team here tonight. And these guys will need no introduction, but anyway, just in case, because Danny McDermot once upon a time had hair. On my right hand side, first close to me, is Danny McDermot, Castlefine Cool Whitehall.
Yep. In
the middle, with the beard, Liam Riley from Ballynacarrigy. And on my extreme right, all the way from Collery, Gary Flanagan. Lads, you're very, very welcome here tonight.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.
And talking off camera, lads, I don't think we should have any problem with stories and whatever of that famous year in 2000. Danny, you were just saying that everything was a special edition that year. It was the millennium year, so it had that little extra bit of significance.
Yeah, definitely, Ray. We were just after coming out of Y2K. We survived that, so we did, and we came in, and it was, we were a young group. A lot of us only turned 17 that year, and then we'd obviously the older lads, and it was 100 years the Leinster Council. So unbeknownst to ourselves, it was a really special year to be involved in. So it was exciting and noteworthy from the word go.
We're going to go back to the beginning of that year, let's say 2000 and whatever. When did you get started, or had many of you come from the previous year's minor team, or what way was it, Liam? Were you a 17 or an 18 year old, or had you any 16 year olds, or was that full panel made of 17 and 18 year olds?
I think that maybe mostly made up of 17 and 18 year olds. As far as memory serves me right, I think we could have started back maybe, was it October, November?
Yeah,
maybe a 99.
I unfortunately was on the previous year's panel, and we played Dublin in the first round
in Parnell
Park, and let's just say it was rabbit in the headlights moment. And yeah, it was tough. I was playing full back at the time, and it was just an onslaught. It was I think Cluxton was playing, I think there was Brogan's, Conal Keeney's, was a couple of future stars in the making. But it was tough, and it wasn't long after kind of we had won the 99 All Ireland, so yeah. It just, I suppose it was very, very soon after, and being honest, we seemed to be very flat. And I think Ambrose was the manager that year, and he was ripping like Ambrose he's loud at the best of times, but you can imagine him in a dressing room, like he was absolutely ripping. He was just good. That back then, obviously, it's one game knockout, you're gone. So I suppose trying to put those wrongs right, and then a few of us going in with the younger lads who were pretty much fresh from a very good under 16 run through, that we were kind of a good gel, that we were trying to right the wrong of the previous year, and the lads then were, fresh and hungry.
Ambrose McGowan, manager. Who else was involved in that team?
Eugene Dolan from Clonmel, you had Gerard Egan, and you had...
Gerard the physio, was he?
Gerard was physio, but he ended up being selected.
Right, okay.
Unbeknownst to us, we all get and he was relaying the information back. And Dan McDermot on the table every second week. But they were it was a really good management team, and they kind of all got on really well, and that kind of fed into us as players as well. So. Yeah,
and I think it was very much a family kind of thing, and our bus driver was Johnny Moran, and
who had been involved. He was involved in '95, wasn't he, as well?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Johnny was the bus driver for all the teams, and it just happened to be that next thing he would be kind of giving his input, and a great man to chat. And the way it worked back then, which I know is going to sound mad, but the south of the county used to get a bus every time. So no one drove to train. We would get on the bus. So you can imagine getting on the bus and Maud, myself, and say Nidji Adamson, a couple of lads, and say Scats, and you were picking up lads along the way, and it was growing as you went. And Johnny would be there, and Mary as well, and they'd be driving you to training, and the crack you would have. Now remember, pre-mobile phones.
Yeah.
It was just the crack. So I think Johnny became part of the management team unbeknownst to him. You know what I mean? He was a great man to have.
And it was such from a management team perspective, there's such a variety of characters there. Like, you had Ambrose, like Gary said, it was big, bombastic, it was a real good character. You had Eugene, who was, a great man, great crack and all that kind of stuff, saltier. Mihal was a real dub, so he was, whatever, thrown into the middle of it all, and like Ger was just a quiet gentleman,
To be fair to Mihal, no, he wasn't fond of laps.
No, he loved them.
Go on, you better expand on Mihal.
I know, he was
Micheál-
like the
Micheál
training.
Fleming, was it?
Yeah, the training was very, like really, really. I remember it being really, really hard. It was just like, and when you look at today's training, it was laps after laps. It was. I remember Alan Hickey got absolutely at one time because he was too far behind. But to look at, came in up to space.
We did. I can always remember one of the first training sessions was in Ballincarrigy, and we were after, like, you know,
Which was a great
it was a
pitch,
great
by the way.
spot. Yeah. Good people in Ballincarry, and we were after there, and the warm up. I'll never forget after warm up. I just said, "Holy jeez, what have we gotten into here?" It was the hardest warm up I've ever done in my life, like, you know. So, and
that was only the warm up.
That was only the warm up. Yeah, I didn't know what was going
The
on.
thing about Ambrose was he used to like try and be modern. You know, before he modern was the thing. So he used to be constantly looking at training sessions that Arsenal were doing, and you know, and trying to pick bits and pieces out of it. And like he'd do these random drills that came out of nowhere. And like our warm up suddenly came from the Premier League. Like it was this warm up we used to run down 2 channels around the side, and he was all very proud of this warm up. And back then there was no one else. Like Ambrose would do everything. He would do the warm up. He'd do everything. He was getting involved in
No S&C codes
No,
and like that.
jeez,
No.
So I remember like one time Ambrose had seen this drill on the internet. He had seen this drill anyway where it was a running drill, you know what I mean? And you were going up and down, and so we set up for this running drill. He goes, right, guys, it's all under the clock, you know, and this is going to be, we've got to get from there to there and back in 20 seconds. So we were like, grand, okay, and we're going to do it 10 times. And we were like, geez, well, that sounds a bit tough. And it seemed to be from the 21 to the 45 and back. And you were like, okay, that's all right, we should be able to do it. And there's a couple of lads like Scats and like Hickey would be quick, and Gagsy Glennon would just be a Rolls Royce kind of running these, you know what I mean? And we started off and we got to the end and we ran back, and we were just about getting there in time. And then he said, right, we're going to get 10 seconds break and we're going again. And then we went again, and you're like, and then suddenly only like 2 lads were making it back. And by the third one, and we were meant to be doing 10 here, everyone was on the floor there, you know what I mean? I was like, geez, he showed us only 10 seconds break. And he was like, come on, this is not good. And he was going mental. And then anyway, afterwards you realised anyway, it was supposed to be like out to the 14 and back, you know what I mean? It was meant to be a very short distance. He just misread his notes. But in fairness to him, he was constantly trying to change training and not make it dull and boring, and to try and keep changing, to make sure that lads enjoyed training more so than the slog, you know. But those early days, I have to admit, I remember them.
They're like,
I think we were running our rugby club as well.
oh yeah, like, and the 12-minute run was the drill at the time. There was no, like, you know, no Broncos or no Broncos to beat that. It was a 12-minute run was the order of the time, like, you know. So I remember doing 12-minute runs in the old Lomans pitch, which is the new AstroTurf pitch, and it used to be a slog fest. So it was whatever, you had to muck down beside the dressing room end as it is now, and absolutely caked in muck, like, you know, and doing these 12-minute runs around. It was absolute hardship, so it was.
But anyway, so you started, he got you back on the wagon sort of from what, October?
Yeah, I think the first thing I remember was a meeting in a hotel. I remember meeting in a hotel, and there was a bomb load of players there, and he just set out the stall and he said, I'm doing it my way, this way, and you know, whatever that was supposed to mean, but he was very much taking control of it. Whereas I think maybe the previous year, I don't know if he wasn't happy with things that were going on or whatever, but he was like, this is the way I'm doing it. And he introduced the lads and he said, this is it for this year.
I come at that stage, was there a lot of you guys playing, say, colleges football against each other and stuff like that? That obviously didn't impact on your group anyway, did it?
Yeah, no, that's right. I really remember the school football was very, very competitive. Like you had St. Mary's CBS, Moore were going really well at the time. You had the Maris,
yeah.
And like all the players, I remember St. Mary's CBS, I think there was 7 on St. Mary's CBS that was on the panel in the minor team. So that shows you how strong it was, and it was very, very competitive. It was good competition, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Oh, I went to Finian, so, like, you know, I was Switzerland, you know, you'd see, but it's a huge competition. But this was the genius as well of Ambrose, because he picked Alan Lambden as captain. And Alan Lambden went to Mullingar Community College, as far as I remember, and he was captain of the vocational school team for Westmeath that did really well that year. So Lammer had no ties really to anybody as such, like, you know, and he was just he's the type of character. It didn't make a difference if you did have a tie anyway. But it was kind of, I don't know what it was meant or not, but it was an absolute genius move making Lammer captain because of that competitiveness between the couple of teams, because we were missing for matches earlier on the years. A lot of lads wouldn't be able to play it because they had the college's commitments at the time, and they wouldn't be released and everything at the time, like, you know. So it was really competitive at the time, like.
You started training in October. You hadn't your first game in the championship until the 6th of May. You must have been like greyhounds at that stage.
Yeah, but we had during the league, wasn't that?
Yeah, there was an awful lot of pre-tournaments back then, because obviously now there's kind of like more back doors and more, but back then it was straight knockout. So they had to fill up. So there was a Leinster League. There was
tournament as well.
Yeah, there was a. Was it Jerry O'Reilly tournament? What was?
No, Jerry O'Reilly was under 16.
What was the?
You had
some sort of a
we played about 7.
Yeah, there was a Tipperary
Longford about 3
tournament.
times.
There was the Leinster League, and there was the I can't remember the other one. The O'Donoghue Shield.
O'Donoghue Shield.
O'Donoghue Shield was taking place. So you had the likes of Cavan, Longford. I think Roscommon could have been in that. Like, kind of like the
Father
Manning Cup
Yeah,
was brought out. Like Father Manning Cup back then was not what it is now. It was 16. So it was a smaller
I
competition.
still have nightmares of that Cavan game. Johnny Oxford was marking him. Alan Hickey had to go and mark him in the second half. So there was an awful lot of roasting I got that day. But anyway, we'll go on. Keep moving.
But
taking you back, we're taking you back.
I just remember those games, the defeats. I was looking at the results when Danny was making up a kind of a list of all the games and all that, and I was like, geez, but I remember the defeats.
Yeah.
And like we lost to, say, Dublin in the Leinster League, for example. We lost them, and didn't lose by an awful lot. We actually were winning about 2 minutes to go.
It was in Crumlin.
And then Meath we lost as well. But then I suppose the one that Ambrose went ballistic was with the Offaly one. He went nuts. He just lost it because he was kind of seeing deja vu here, because he set us up fairly well. We had full squad, all the boys back from colleges football, and it was kind of like we had to win to qualify for the semi-final, I think, in the group. And we absolutely flopped. And I'd never forget it. He just lost the plot. And incidentally, we were playing this very small tournament 2 weeks later, and it was Tipperary, Offaly, and I think there was another couple of teams in it. And Ambrose went down with us to Tipperary, and we played Tipperary 1 week, and the following week we were playing against Offaly, who got to the final, and we were playing Offaly. And he went out and he said, I'm treating this like our championship against Louth. I'm going to treat this like the first round of the championship. I want all you to take this ridiculously serious. And we did, and we were after losing them 2 weeks previously, and we went out and we absolutely, it was the exact same team that they had and we had, and we absolutely bet them off the field, off the park. It was something like 5-19 to 3 points or something, something ridiculous. It was like every kick out we were taking really serious. We were cheering on, and it was a very small tournament. But I think that was the moment I kind of thought to myself, because obviously you felt a bit of inevitability about losing to Dublin, losing to Meath. We were tight in the game, we lost. But I think that was the first time I saw that. Do you know what? Some of those young lads are just so good that some of our forwards are so skillful that if we play to our strengths, we actually have a very good side. And plus, on the nice side of the draw, a bit of momentum, you were hoping that, I suppose, we could build on this.
Yeah. If you look at the forwards, like PJ Ward, Colin White, they were starting to gel really when they started like that.
We had I said, with the younger lads I was included. We were from under 16s. We won Everton when we were under 16. We won Jerry Riley, Father Manning, Leinster League, and all this kind of stuff. And we were just cocksure of ourselves. We just had that winning feeling. We hadn't lost a game that whole year. And I remember we came in with the lads, the Ambrose. I remember we started off. We bet, I think, Carlow in a challenge match. We bet we played the Offaly vocational schools in challenge, and we just kept that winning run going. And it was just fun. And then next minute you had the experienced lads from the year before coming in and all that kind of. You had the likes of Pádraig Levy, who was after being with the under 21s, his sub-keeper, and Levy was a legend at the time. He was getting into the Bloomfield at 14, so he was so it was hold the car keep up, and Levy be getting in there. He was a legend. Colin White was a legend at the time. Colin White. I remember we played an under 14. I was playing soccer up in a club up beside Old Castle, and we came to play Mullingar Athletic in a soccer match. And I was normally a centre half in the soccer, and they put me centre forward to man mark Colin White, who was centre back for Athletic, because the talent that man had was unbelievable.
Crazy.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah, he was the first player I saw, and I just said, that's ridiculous. He left or right, didn't matter what angle he come from. And I was looking at him going, that is just such talent. And the mad thing is, we had played them with Moat against St Mary's, and I was just telling our manager, who didn't, he knew about Colin. I said, no, you need to put 2 or 3 lads in this lad. And he was looking at me going, as if I had 2 heads. I said, this guy is so good that you need to really, really need to really tighten him, because he's just that good. And as I said, even left foot and right foot back then, I suppose it wasn't a massive kind of strength. Like nowadays, it's been taught underage and very important to have your weak foot, but back, like you're just looking at him.
And you had the likes of PJ as well coming through, and PJ, like at our level growing up, like PJ was well known through the circle. The PJ Ward, like he could just kick, same as Colin, left and right. Like PJ used to always remember, like he'd altered his free kick technique a couple of times, but his technique used to be with the back behind the back with the goals and whatever, and kicking over the shoulder nearly, like so. But just when you had the likes of, we kind of seen it earlier on the year, when you had the likes of a PJ, a Colin, and Alan Hickey coming through, like all them lads, like serious ability, like like natural scoring forwards.
But come here, before we do go into talking about the matches, let's talk about the group, because there's a lot of big names came out of that group. We'll start, and I suppose you're lucky, I suppose, in some ways that you've only lost one of the members. But Oney Farrell, talk to me about Oney. He was the goalkeeper.
So look at, I suppose I came across Oney maybe underage Maryland Tang. Then I suppose we spoke earlier about 99 when we won the intermediate with Bandacarrigy. Oney Farrell was the goalie for Maryland, and I remember thinking he was a serious player. And then I was part of the minor panel in 99, and then in 2000. Look, what can you say about Oney? He was such a lovely person, an absolutely brilliant goalie. Shocking sad that Oney's not with us, and we'll miss him now on Saturday night, but couldn't be a nicer lad. And from a goalkeeping point of view, I just thought he was absolutely savage. I remember club under 16 taking a shot on a goal, and I was 100% sure he's scoring bottom corner, and then Oney just pins it out of the bottom corner with a brilliant save. So I couldn't speak highly enough of Oney, and I'm sure the two lads probably have. Yeah,
well, Oney's actually my first cousin. My dad and his mother are brother and sister, so and we've got a massive family. And I suppose growing up, Oney's roughly the same age as myself. It was actually his birthday there a couple of days ago, and our kind of thing with the family get-togethers was, if we went down to Farrell's, there was 2 goals set up either end of the garden, out came the brothers, out came my brothers, and it was just a game of football for about 5 hours if you could. And the same thing, we went to Granny's house, and it was the same thing. It was football. We were all football mad, and it was very competitive then, because when we were playing against Maryland, then sure enough I'd be playing against them, so which was obviously we'd have a bit of crack, like, because Oney was the type of fella that he'd be just very smiley and like a very bubbly fella, so you couldn't get tick with him, or even if you tried. But I suppose that the thing I remember about Oney most was just, I suppose with goalies you have to be very sure of yourself, but Oney he just used to take it such in his stride. And I think in the modern game, Oney Farrell would have been unbelievable. Like the thoughts of a goalie coming up to take a free back in the day would have been unheard of, but Oney had a belt. Remember, no tees, no kicking tees. You kick from the 6-yard box, and he just had a kick.
45, no problem.
Yeah, and then I always remember in trainings, Oney was mad to get outfield. He was mad to get outfield. Yeah. So Paddy Golden was the other keeper, and he used to go on goals. And next thing you see Oney in the shooting drills. Loved an old drop kick now, a big drop kick. But
you remember Rennie Agita? Remember the Colombian goalie? Like Rennie Agita could do anything. Oney Farrell could do anything in terms of he'd catch the ball, and he would back in the day. This was when the goalie got it, and he drove it as long as he could. Oney Farrell used to get it, and he was a phenomenal footballer, and he actually ended up getting on the Westmeath senior panel years later as an outfield player, a great footballer. He could carry the ball so long, and you'd be there going, and like this was no keeper used to come out with the ball, but Oney used to go on these mad runs coming out, dummy solos and everything like that, but I remember he was an unbelievable pair of hands. Like Gary said, his ability to kick the ball off the ground, like I said, 6-yard line, kicking the ball, clearing the 45, no tee, nothing like that. So an unbelievable, a legend, really.
But a great part of the group, though. I don't think anyone would have a bad word said of Oney Farrell. And the only good thing that came out of the whole thing was that we didn't have WhatsApp before Oney's illness, but then once we all heard about the WhatsApp group was set up, and I think that it's kind of stemmed to this right now, that
it's still known as our Oney Westmeath Minors 2000. That's still our WhatsApp group name,
in his memory.
Absolutely,
yeah, lovely stories. I'm sure you'll have plenty more when you all get together now on the 15th as well for that. Talk about a few more. I'm just doing a little bit of research on the team of the Leinster final, I suppose your full back line, Donald Donoghue, Kenny Larkin, Finney Newman. Again, lads that went on represent, you know, Westmeath at the higher levels afterwards.
Donald was playing for Ireland that year in the under-17 compromise rules, along with PJ Ward. So the two of them had got picked for Ireland that year for the under-17 compromise rules. Donahue had the fastest pair of hands I've ever seen. You'd be getting, think you'd be away from Donald. Next minute, this hand would come in, and like Donald back then, left and right foot, a more natural footballer you probably wouldn't see in terms of his ability with it. Kenny was kind of like a silent assassin, you know. He was there. What was your man saying? Francie Bellew. Like, he wouldn't have been like Francie Bellew, but he'd be quiet like that in terms of. And by jizz, he would nail you if he got the chance. He'd hit fairly, always square on. Kenny was always a fair, unbelievable player. And then sure, Finian was just, you know, Finian just was
probably the poorest of the three.
But sure, Finian, like, you know, got that. We'll obviously talk about the Leinster player of the match. He was on the Independent, I think, future stars for people to watch out in 10 or 15 years time and all that kind of stuff. And unfortunately for Finian, he got his jaw broke a couple of years ago maliciously in a game, like, you know, and it kind of set him back a bit, like, you know. And same with Kenny as well, actually. Two of them got their jaws broken playing for Westmeath seniors in challenge matches, like, you know. So they were unfortunate, like, you know, that they didn't get the opportunity potentially that they probably deserved as footballers. Again, in a modern day world, you probably look at them and they probably could have achieved more nowadays than one back in the day in their positions.
And Finian's twin Conor,
Conor was there. Like, Conor was he still is a good one of my closest like, you know. So but Conor was like, you know, as tenacious a footballer and wholehearted. Like, even I joked with Ambrose there a couple of years ago. Or a couple of weeks ago, I took over a little small hiatus over Bunbrosna this year, and I text Ambrose and I was there going, geez, not too many people can say that you managed the Newmans in your 40s and I managed the Newmans in my 40s. so, you know, but again, unbelievable man and whatever, a great heart.
Come here, the half-back line, obviously, Danny, we won't ask you to talk about yourself, but Alan Lando was team captain, and Gagsy Glennon, again, another legend.
Gary Glennon was savage.
Yeah.
Alan Lambden, and of course Dan here beside it. Like, what a half-back line. Like, to be fair, like, like Gary Glennon was probably one of, like, if you look at half-backs, I just thought he was brilliant, excellent what he did. Lambert, to be fair, was a great captain. Like what Dan said earlier, didn't matter who you were, he just treated you the same, and a serious footballer as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was he out of the country, or is he out of
America?
He's in Canada. Yeah. So he's actually coming back next week. He is, along with Colin White's out of the country. He's coming back. Well,
right,
great,
yeah, lovely. Then you mentioned the legend of Pádraig Levy. Like Nigel Martin, they had two huge big men.
Minors, and Gary there as well. Like, you know, the three of them were kind of rotating whatever throughout the year. Like, you know, but like, you know, Levy was a ball on ground. He just kick it, and for an unbelievable footballer. Like, you know, just
he'd shovels hands.
Yeah.
Remember that shot we caught?
Yeah. Like, you know, and the stuff that, like, you know, like I said, Levy was a legend. Like, you know, and like coming, and back then, like, you know, catching ball, like your stereotypical Gary as well, and Niall, like, you know, stereotypical big men in midfield. And I'll never forget a couple of, like, again, Ambrose is modern training methods. One of his training methods was that year was, you got the ball, you sold it into the middle, and you hit each other a shoulder. And every time I kept going up against Gary Flanagan or Nigel Martin hitting the shoulder, Lord Jesus, my shoulder still hard right after it, because just huge men and huge, like, you know, great men winning the ball in midfield.
Yeah, the thing I remember with those, there was no strength and condition, but those lads were they were already solid. Like, you know, there was.
All the laps, Gary.
I don't know if it was laps. I don't know what they were at home, but they were.
I'd always
just strong.
I'd always joke with lads, like the likes of Kilmartin and Levy, they were farm fit.
Yes.
Yeah. They were, like, you know, there was no gym and strength. They just Levy had the pair of hands and the shovels, so they were, and Kilmartin, they were just farm fit from working at home and everything like that. Like, you know, and they were strong.
Half-hour line again. This I'm only just going looking at the final team. Nigel Adamson, Moore, Colin White for the Gnomes, and Kieran Brennan. Now, Kieran Brennan is not a name that jumps out at me. You know, so go on, talk to me about him.
Yeah, well, Kieran Brennan, like, and again, serious football, Bunbrosna, like, if you're looking at, say, wing forwards, you'd be saying he'd be typically a real modern style wing forward. Super fit, like, would just run all day. I always thought Kieran Brennan was a brilliant footballer. Nidji, the other side, like, Nidji, we played Mort in a quarter-final in the school, and I think Nidji kicked the point. He must have been about 50 yards out, kicked it over the bar. Again, another savage footballer, like, so two wing forwards, exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah. And then White had the quality.
You'd like to send Gordon coming in, Liam coming in as well. Gordon McDonald, who was unlucky, did whatever, and Liam coming in as well, also unlucky. Like, there was great competition in that half-forward positions. Like, so I guess in Brennan, the first thing with that Carlow match I spoke to, I remember going in from that. We were after warming up and walking in, and there was Brendan, and Brendan was, whatever he was, and in the dressing room, and they're fixing the hair and putting the Brill cream or Dax in the hair just before the game started. I'd go on, he's just as Liam said, a legend in his own right. He's just mercurial is what you describe Kieran Brendan as. Yeah.
Liam Riley, PJ Ward, and Alan Hickey, full forward line. Fair talent there. Again, Alan Hickey stood the test of time. Yeah, he's just about finished, I think now.
I'd say it's another year.
It's another year.
I think this year. It's like PJ was kind of like a superstar, as in the making. A type. He was a really confident fella. That he would tell you, I'm the best player in this team. You know what I mean? And you have to admire the confidence. And when he hit fire, it was just. You couldn't stop him, I remember in the actual final. I think one of Dublin's biggest downfalls was they had an extra. We got a man sent off, and they put the extra man on PJ. And sure, PJ would love this. In front of the hill, he's marking two lads, and he'd be thinking, "This is great. I love this." And of course, they tried to get a bit physical with him. And again, a fella who just loved that. He just thrived at. He'd actually nearly perform better by them putting the second fella on him. He said, "Right, I'll show you."
Go on.
No, it's the confidence PJ had to think. Even outfits coming to train, his gear. PJ used to wear a Kango hat backwards. These were the old Kango hats backwards. He did. PJ do things none of us would even dare about even trying to pull off.
Even the first man I ever saw wearing white boots, and that was just something. And I was like, this man, he's a confidence to do whatever he wants.
He had a homemade energy drink as well. He had a plastic 2-litre milk carton, I think, energy drink thing that he made himself. Used to drink it on the bus. I don't know what was in it, but it worked well.
Well, it did work well, yeah.
Probably a drop of vodka or something like that. But he was ahead of his time, though.
But he was just like he was big, strong, fast, could kick off his left foot, kick off his right foot, could win it high, could win it low. He was on his day, he was probably unmarkable, definitely.
Yeah, and I suppose his most notorious outing was that Dublin final where, I don't know whether he gave them the fingers or not, but the hill after he scored a point, I don't know whether he was waving at them or giving them more jip or whatever.
Only tell him we won by 2 points.
No, I think there was family members in the hill. He was waving at them.
All right.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, he just couldn't hear them now. But no, again, but again, we were the crack. You think back at that, I think
Tony Farrell jumped up in there as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know whose idea it was, but literally there seemed to be a bit of a stampede, and it just kind of grew. And before you know it, we were up on top of railings, and you remember in front of the hill. At this stage now, there could have been 15,000 Dubs in there, and
Kildare and Dublin were playing.
I remember saying it, but back then, lucky enough, no camera phones.
And this is the time, Ray, there was no Hogan Stand. Hogan Stand was being built at the time. Whatever, so there was no Hogan Stand, so it was kind of a bit surreal playing in Croke Park back then, because you had no Hogan Stand, and then you had the hill absolutely full of Dublin people, and then the Cusick was filling up and everything like that, so, but it was PJ let them have it anyway.
And I wouldn't mind, Dublin supporters in general would always have had a soft spot for Westmeath, but our PJ nearly ruined that. They nearly ruined it on us.
Diplomatic relations, a lot of work on the background.
I'm telling you. We'll have a look at the games now that you went through that year. The opening game, 6th of May, there was a lot of preparation done between October and the 6th of May. 113 to 1-9 over Louth. Where was that? Was that a home game?
It was in Cusick, yeah.
Right. Remember, because you guys seem to have great memories, I will say that.
Yeah, well, I think the one thing about it is, I suppose, at this point in kind of Westmeath's history, we had 95, we had 99, and I suppose back in the day, we had nothing to kind of look at as being, okay, this is what success looks like, So I think when you're going in to play Louth, there were probably, we would see them as weaker than us, you know what I mean? Right. I think that was the thing. It wasn't a Dublin or a Meath you were playing. It was Louth. You were probably saying to yourself, oh, we're better than these. But we did struggle over the line. I remember going into that game, and I was very confident. I always think we loved playing in Cusick, you know what I mean? And I remember lads brought in stereo systems into the. I remember we were playing music in the dressing room beforehand, and Blair and I was like, "This is great," I was in very confident, relaxed. I just think we probably stumbled a little bit over the line, And I think Ambrose probably at that point didn't know his best starting 15. I think we had been so many especially in probably the forward line, each centre back, like Lambert played centre forward at the start, and
I was cornerback. And
you were cornerback. James Martin was wing forward.
Yeah.
I think Ambrose kind of hadn't settled on his team because he had so many lads missing for schools, and then they were coming in and coming out. And I suppose he just wasn't 100% sure. I think the team that he played against Offaly was the team he went with nearly in the end. But then there were so many changes after, since then to the Leinster final, that it just goes to show how a team develops. But what I would say about that one, Ray, is it wasn't great, but we probably got there.
But I think after, when we won that, I think the dressing room, the way we celebrated after, I think that nearly kicked us on as if this actually really is a really good unified team. Because I remember the music.
Yeah.
Like, music in dressing rooms was unheard of. Like, we were going bananas after the game as if we won the All-Ireland. But
bananas before
I think
the game.
that built the team spirit though.
Yeah. And would you all concur that, like, you felt there was something, like you weren't long after 95, remember?
Yeah.
So did you feel something? There was something special in that group, even that early.
We probably just felt there was a confidence about us, like, and but like I said, probably the one, like, there was a great, like it probably can't be underestimated, the natural togetherness we formed, and the bond we formed throughout that period of time was unbelievable. Like,
doing the laps
we went down to Castlebar for one weekend, whatever, a bonding weekend. It was great. Like I was saying to you beforehand, Ray, minor back then was under 18, like, you were people were able to do a lot more things than they could do at the under 17 level now, and that was a great factor in terms of kind of bonding us together as a group, like, because there was a bit of skullduggery, there was a bit of crack and everything like that, and that helped. We trained at the beach the next morning and whatever, we were dancing in nightclubs with tops off, we were just, it was, but again, we look back at this, and 25 years later we'll talk about, and the house parties we had and everything like that, and the crack that we had after, but like Liam said, after that loud game, like, we celebrated the group, and like, we just, the thing was, we actually all we really all enjoyed each other's company, and that was a massive thing.
That was a big thing for me anyway.
Yeah.
Fortnight later, Kilkenny, major test for you then, obviously not the small ball, 10-23 to 6 points.
Yeah, we were lucky to get through that.
Yeah, that was a tight one for a long time.
Well, we had that game, we didn't know what to expect going into Kilkenny, and the first thing, and Ambrose will still say it, Nolan Park was the nicest pitch, and still is probably the nicest pitch I ever played on.
Right.
Just back then, it was
a putting green, like, it was just incredible.
Yeah, like, it was unbelievable. Now, the Kilkenny lads, obviously, like you said, small ball county, whatever. I think some of them were even meeting each other on the way in for the first time, and they didn't know who was playing and what team was playing, all that kind of stuff. Like, and as you can tell by the score, like, I think PJ scored a record. I think he scored a record score that day. Right. Like, so but
and I think Ambrose actually took him off as well, and I think he was ripping over it. I think he was like,
looking for the double hat trick.
Want to beat all records that I've ever made. But I agree. Like, it was kind of, you knew after about 20 minutes this is a big mismatch, But having said that, you have to win.
Yeah.
Probably a break for leaving cert then at that stage, because that was the tradition.
Yeah.
Back then on the 25th of June, I suppose back to earth with a bit of a thump in some ways. 9 points apiece against Laois, who, remember, we were after having a huge ding down with in 95. So low scoring game in Croke Park.
I suppose that, for me anyway, going to Croke Park for the very first time, I know I was very nervous going into it. Stopping, I don't know what pitch we used to stop at.
Garda College, or the canoeing on the Liffey there. Remember the
Island Bridge.
Island Bridge, that's it.
And then the bus escort in, like, this was like, jeez. And then you could see Croke Park coming in the distance. You're kind of going, wow, this is what you've always dreamt of type thing.
Yeah. Getting the Garda escort, or unbelievable.
I remember we were singing on the window. I remember I was very nervous as well, but lads just started singing with the Garda car in front of us and stuff.
What was the movie with Steve McQueen in it, where he jumped over I can't forget the name, but we were singing that theme tune on the way into the bus on the docks, like, so Lord, and that became a routine, because we were in Croke Park about 5 times that year, and we ended up singing the same songs in nearly the same spots because next minute it was a good luck charm for us, like,
But lucky to get a draw, and low score, 9 points apiece.
Low score. We could have. We were. I think in that game we were doing well and we were up in the game and all that kind of stuff. And then they came back at us near the end. And I think only for Finlay Newman, I think made a massive block near the end, and that kind of kept us in it. That would have been a Laois team. Ross Munley would have been playing that Laois team, like, so they were a good team. So Finlay made a tremendous block on. I think actually, I don't know whether someone was saying it the other night, that did Ambrose do a video session after that?
I remember Ambrose used to do video sessions quite often before anyone else ever did them. You know what I mean? Now it was a pause and Michal rewind back and pause and Michal go back again a bit further, and it was long. But I remember he showed that clip and he just said, and it was kind of a moment where the whole place went silent. He said, "Watch this," and that was the moment that your man was just about to take a shot, and then Finian came from absolutely, as he does quite often, and he blocked the ball, and then the final whistle went, and I suppose Amber's point was just that in that moment that could have been it. That could have been the end of the summer, because remember, straight knockout, you're gone. So I think there was a big pause then. He kind of let that sit for a while, and he kind of was saying to us, don't let that happen again. Like,
replay then a couple of weeks later, 14 points to Laois's 2-4. 14 scores to 6. Were we well the better team that day? Did you struggle with it? What's your memories of that one now?
Well, I think in a lot of games that year we made good. We played a lot in ebbs and flows, really, like, So I think in that game we made a quick start, and I think we were 7-1 up at half time, like, So we were really playing good football at the time, and we left a bit behind us as well in that first half. But then at the start of the second half, I think, from reading reports, Laois came back at us, scored 2 quick goals. Next minute they were back in the game and stuff like that. Like, So again, it was really close. It was a tight match. I think Liam came on that day. He kicked 2 huge scores when he came on. Like, So we were like, again, that togetherness throughout the year. We had lads who were really disappointed not to be playing games and starting games, but they always came on and they always made really positive impacts for us. Like, we talk now about the finishers and the 20-man game, and it wasn't so much the word back then, like, but really for that team, that was the situation where we had lads coming on and whatever, kicking huge scores for us in games.
You go through that one, 2 games, you get into a Leinster final. Huge day then, obviously, huge day out. Everything else against, of course, the mighty Dubs. 2-9, 1-10, 2-point win. 14 men for a lot of this, for some of the first half as well.
It was 5 minutes in the second half.
Second half. Yeah. Ash, the poor devil, he took a ferocious dive in poor Donny. Sure, he didn't touch him, so he didn't. So,
Totally out of character.
Oh, yeah.
That's actually true, though. It was totally out of character, though. As in, like, he got badly caught.
That's just Kildare coming out, and the Donoghue and the Kildare coming out. So look at you, right? So, No, but again, like, he was just unlucky that he was. But again, he was caught. He was unlucky to get caught. Yeah.
It must have been the umpire right there.
It was a push. It was a gentle push. So it was, at best. But so it was. But the build up to that was just, again, build up. Like, go on, sorry, Liam.
Well, I'm just saying, we got training in Cusack Park. I remember training in Cusack Park. I think, to be fair to Ambrose, Eugene, and them, they really played up to the underdogs kind of tag, because I know Dublin were raising her favourites really to win that. And again, we were kind of like, I think the bond of the team, we were just kind of like nearly fearless, to be fair, and then really all looking forward to that. So again, getting the bus to Mullingar, heading up, going to Croke Park, I think for the 3rd time. So again, you knew the dressing rooms, which is strange as a 17 and 18-year-old to say that you're getting used to it. But yeah, I just really enjoyed the build-up. Like, I can still remember that training session.
I remember we were playing headers and volleys nearly, and like trying to, it's the usual stuff that 17, 18-year-old lads do. We were doing in Cusack Park.
Frank McDermott was in the stand going and shouting.
It could have been, with a Claxton probably. Jerry Hickey, So, like, like I said, that training session, I'll always remember that. Like, just it was because it was the weather that week was unbelievable. I actually. For myself personally, it was I was actually playing up in the Mill Cup for us that weekend. I was playing soccer up at the time, and we actually had to tell lies to Ambrose on the Tuesday because I wasn't there for the session the Tuesday night. So we had to make up another story to tell Ambrose. But it was whatever. We got knocked out, and we came back down to Thursday for the training session. And I was going, oh jeez, I'm going to get Ed here if he finds out, because back then there used to be UTV, and the competition I was playing in was shown on UTV at night time, and I was just going, oh no, I'm going to get caught here, like, So, but I just remember that those training sessions. But
yeah, it was a long build up. It could have been 3 to 4 weeks. Like, you know, it was a good long. Even though we had a replay, it was good 3 weeks there.
16th of July was the replay. You know, there was a
30th.
No, 30th July was 2 weeks. Yeah. So it was
hard to get friendlies and stuff like that. Like, you know.
And like I said, lads were just coming off the leaving cert as well. And again, lads were coming off the leaving cert at the time because again we the first Laois game and then we
nearly 3 weeks then.
Yeah, that's it, between the Laois games, like, you know. And I remember we had a couple of tough sessions in Shindona, and like I said, Ambrose wouldn't be afraid to pull us up, and he was great at that, and he would pull you up and bring you back down to earth fairly quick with a few strong words, like, you know. So
and that Dublin game, who were Dublin stars? I know Conal Keaney was one of them anyway. Go on, give me.
Alan Brogan was a sub on it, and he came on. There was a guy called Liam O'Gaheenicon, was probably one of their best players.
There was a guy, Stephen Mills, and Stephen Mills he was after destroying Westmeath the year before, I think. Like, you know, he was the big name, like, you know, back then.
Yeah. But again, huge celebrations here in Mullingar coming home. What's the memories on that one? All in Club Orange, everyone on it that night as well.
Well, I remember, first of all, coming into Kinnegad, and you come into the town in Kinnegad, and we got out there, and I'll never forget Adrian Murray with bawling his eyes out crying, whatever, coming into Kinnegad, like, you know, so absolutely delighted. And
we walked through Kinnegad.
Like, you know, the reception we got from Kinnegad was remember we stopped at the bridge where the roundabout is now, and walked down through the town, and the crowd, Gordon, absolutely. Yeah. And the crowd were out, and it was massive celebrations there. And
just a funny thing there, when we actually won the Leinster final, Ambrose tore his hamstring running onto the pitch. I always remember that.
Yeah, I
did. For the whole night. But the dressing room after the Dublin game, like, I just felt that was lovely as well, because the whole team was together.
Yeah.
You know, just the realisation that you actually had to win in it, like, so.
Yeah.
And back then there was no hope and stand, so the presentation was done on the pitch. Which I kind of, in some ways, kind of feel sad about, because I would have loved to up the Hogan stand.
Yeah, I remember, like, I don't think Lambert was overly prepared for it, and I think there was meant to be 1 or 2 people on the podium, but we tried to fit 28 and it was poor Lambert was trying to read some bit of Irish that Seamus O'Phelan had given him a few minutes before, and it sounded like carnage altogether on it. But I suppose it was just even not disbelief, but I suppose when you're kind of looking at it from the outside and you see, you know, 5 points down, or I don't know what was it, could have been 11, 12 minutes to go, a man down, like, there is no, you're kind of thinking that's the end of that, like, you know what I mean, we gave a good old account of ourselves, but it just didn't happen. So I think that it was just a sheer elation of, you know, actually having bet them, you know, when all the odds are against you, even like you would think the odds are against you before the match, but during the match, just the sheer elation of actually winning it.
But the subs that came on in that game, like the subs, every sub that came on either scored, Scott scored a goal.
Scott scored a goal, Shinder going in, and
you got one.
No, Scott scored a great goal, whatever coming in. Like, Neji made a difference, Gordon made a huge difference coming in, like, you know, so it was and like that, and again, go back to, like, Colin was kicking over points that day from PJ again, like he said, we had 2 lads on him, and, like, you know, literally
he was
just loving it.
Like,
you know, and but no, the came on again. I can remember Scott. As if it was there now, I can remember Scott scoring that goal. Like, you know, it's funny, like, you know, the little things that stick out in your head. Like, you know,
Mossy always thanks me for going back in corner back.
He did a huge job.
Only
for it. That was the winning of it, Liam.
The other thing about it was that the senior game after was Kildare versus Dublin. It was, so by the end of the game, like you know, it was a good 40,000 dubs, you know what I mean, for the last 10 minutes. So it was just, you could see the kind of, you know, it was just building up to this big kind of finale, you know. There were dubs being egged up.
Kildare won that senior as well.
There was a replay, went to a replay. There was a draw that day.
They won it.
Yeah. And, like, again, we were giving it to the big one, to the hill, so we were, and all that. But they started chanting, "Come on, you boys in maroon," after that as well, so did, like, you know, so whatever. So, and I guess, like Gary said, like, you know, to be 5 points down, 10 minutes to go, it was a whole, you know, momentum just wins games, and we just got momentum that day, and just the sheer elation after winning, the disbelief, like, you know, like, it was just and like Liam said, the afterwards in the dressing room, like, you know,
and even meeting family after in Croke Park, would have brought you to a load of games. I remember meeting my man It was great, yeah. The homecoming here was savage.
It was amazing, yeah.
And you great pictures in the pitch, Seamus O'Fuela on bringing Lammer over to collect the trophy. Like, you had Michael McHugh, who was a stalwart of underage GA, whatever chairman tonight. Like I said, you had Adrian Murray there, and Adrian was the kindest of souls and bursting his eyes out crying on the pitch, so it was absolutely, it's great to think back. You were involved in a memory with them lads as well.
Yeah. Then, a couple of weeks later then, probably nearly 3 weeks later then, for an All-Ireland semi-final. Was it an anticlimax, or was it hard to get up for that game, or how did you fill the time between Leinster final? Was there, obviously...
Well, after the celebrations, we were
a couple of days.
we celebrated, we go bed, so we did.
There wasn't one night of celebration, I can tell you that anyway. There was a couple of house parties. There was like a lot of celebrating that week. And I suppose trying to get back up semi-final, like, to be honest with you, I'm not saying that speaking personally, I suppose, but I suppose it seemed like when you're going back training and knowing that, like, you're not playing a match then for 3 weeks, as in, like, that it's very hard to get friendlies and to keep ticking over, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
And
which was a lot was the stories, and like that after the Leinster final, like the next morning, like Des Cahill had a radio show, and it was all about did the Westmeath Miners over celebrate and all this kind of stuff. And you're really you're chatting about all crack afterwards, and that was like there was a trailer at the back of the front of the gravel there, like, and just the memories of that, like, and like that kind of you were on cloud nine really, you were on cloud nine really for the first couple of weeks anyway, and then was just down to brass tacks after that again, like.
But in that game though, we went 5 points up.
I think we definitely left the first game behind us, and even when I think of the second game, we just decision making was shocking, as in from us. Looking back, and I know it's you can just say this and you'll get slated for it, but I do think that we were a much better team than Mayo. They had a couple of good stars, like Conor Mortimer and Alan Dillon, very good players. But I just think overall in both games, I think we had the measure of them. It's just there's moments in the match you look back and you're just absolutely heartbroken.
What could have been?
What could have been, exactly. I think PJ was injured for the second game, and I suppose free taking ended up being we must have 5 or 6 different free takers at one stage, because I suppose free taking is such a confidence thing, and you kind of look back and you say, I suppose if an unsung free taker on that day, we would have probably won a comfort.
Like that the replay was in Carrick and Shannon, and like I said, we were warming up into what's now the Centre of Excellence in Leitrim on the way into Carrick and Shannon, and all we could see when we were warming up was queues of Westmeath cars going into Carrick and Shannon, and like you came out there, I don't know how many thousands of people there, but it was 95. Carrick and Shannon was packed to the gills, and I'll never forget there was Westmeath kids there shouting and roaring. It was white heat, so there was coming in that game, and like really, and that second game against Mayo, it was as an intense a battle as I've ever played in terms of like physicality, like it was a real physical game between us, like
at 7 points to 6.
Yeah, exactly. It was and like Carrick and Shannon was a bit heavy underfoot back then as well, the pitch, like so
we actually couldn't get out of the dress. Remember, Mayo got ahead of us. Yeah, we had to be held back for 2 or 3 minutes. They had to get their 400. It's just all them little things add up. Like
I guess like Ray, you'll always, unfortunately, with people, sometimes you look back at your losses more than you look back at your wins. That first day in Croke Park was definitely one we potentially left it behind us. Like we could have, it was it was there for us to actually to win it. Like but unfortunately they got, I think, 1-2 in the last few minutes, and again we would have lost that only for another Finney Newman block. Like as well near the end. Like so again it was a typical draw. We could have won and we could have lost it. And then in the replay we were just unfortunate. A few things just didn't go our way. A few kicks didn't go our way. These things happen in football, unfortunately.
Yeah, and a hard one to take, I suppose, in the end, finishing a minor career, obviously, at that.
Well, you look back,
so close.
You look back in the rain, and I'll never forget, and it's again a regretful thing I probably said, not a regretful thing I said, but in terms of, it's a message for people, I guess. I remember saying to someone like Finney Newman or Connor in the bus after, because we were minor the next year, and I remember thinking, we're going to win it next year, so we are. And unfortunately, the opportunity was there, and we just didn't take our opportunity that year, and when it's there like that and you don't take it, you're always going to have a little bit of regret, because it doesn't present itself too often.
Yeah, and come here, throw me out some more names in that panel that we haven't mentioned, maybe the lads that were taking part in your training games and stuff like that.
I think some of the guys that, like, I would say Liam, for example, like Liam played corner forward and corner back at the same time, but we had other players, like I remember John Shaughnessy was our starting full back, and I think he got very sick actually before, and the Laois game, and then Andrew McCormack, who was a brilliant player, but more of a forward player, stepped in at full back that game, and he played unbelievable.
Like the Niall Duffy coming on. Niall Duffy was playing senior for Castledaly back then, Horseman, Jamesy Martin from Tumaclair, Niall Kelly, Damien Martin from Tumaclair, Eric Sullivan from Castletown, like you said, Connor from Brumbrosna, so Mark Siren and Timmy Hill. Timmy Hill was a great footballer, just was unlucky with injuries that year, and even earlier on in the year, with people on the panel, the likes of Brendan Murta, Paddy Dowdle, and you had a huge calibre of person available at the time, and just whatever. But they were the group of lads that stuck through it all the time through,
Yeah.
What strikes me with you guys, we're 25 years later on, but you're such good friends. You're still so close. Maybe it's not unusual, maybe it is unusual, but ye seem to be particularly close, even more so than maybe the 95 team. Now, and I'm saying that, talking to some of the lads from 95, maybe they have the same bond. But you have a big plan now for next Saturday night as well. So go on, tell me what's there.
I think that is true. I was always wondering. I wonder our Mayo celebrating the Connacht tonight, or this year, the 25-year minor for the Connacht. Is it just unusual? But to be honest with you, I don't really care. As in, we do have a good bond, and every club game we used to play after that, we used to meet the lads, and you just kind of you nearly smirk at each other just to say, that was some year. It was brilliant. It was the year 2000, and I suppose the one thing about it is we kind of bonded so much over those few months. And looking forward to the night next Saturday. Yeah, we're having a big reunion in the Greville, and some lads now, I might have to apologise for a few things that might happen to Jousen, but they'll get in. We'll get them in. It'll be all right.
We're not here tonight.
No, we're all good.
So won't mention names.
A couple of disguises ready for them. Be all right. We'll get them in. But yeah, the Greville looked after us for fierce well, so we said we'd go back there, and we're just having a bit of food, going to watch a bit of a video and a bit of a Q&A session with the lads, but it's going to be great crack. I just have that feeling when we get together, it's always good crack.
Just, for our viewers at home, if Liam just pulls his head away to the side, you talk about the Greville, and that's the replica of the jersey from 2000 as well. The Greville, the main sponsors, I think it's an iconic jersey now as well. Go on, Danny. I
was going to say, we were a couple of weeks ago, to be fair to the Westmeath County Board, and the Westmeath County Board are supporting us as well, and they're coming on Saturday night. It was great that we got to line out in the pitch at half time, or before at the senior final. But whatever, and again, we just flew in. The thing with us with that team is you just fall into conversation straight away, and regardless, I might have seen the likes of Paddy Golden in years or Damien Martin years, but you just fall into conversation, and that's why. But it's great that we have Saturday night again to meet up everybody again, and we've invited parents to come. Like my parents are going, there's other parents go, because they were as big a part of it back in the day as well, in terms of all the memories.
And lads coming from abroad as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think that's very much a sign of how close you all are.
But even and going back to Oni, for that obviously sad time, but what Gary mentioned about the WhatsApp group, it is lovely to be part of a group, say, that everyone does get on well with. It's good I was sneering in that WhatsApp group. It's building nicely for Saturday. But no, just the team spirit was unbelievable, to be fair. And it was, you'd meet anyone off that panel, you could meet them anywhere, and you're going to be chatting for about, management included. You'd meet Eugene Ger, I haven't seen Mihal in years, but Ambrose, you'd be chatting for ages, so it was a great memory. It's a pity we didn't go on and play Cork and the All-Ireland final, but look.
And I think also being from a County Westmeath, I think it's important you celebrate these things, because
Absolutely.
We've won five Leinster Minors before, and we're the last ones to do it. And little did we think at that time, because we were on a crest of a wave. The under 21s won, and then the 21s won the All-Ireland year before. It led to 2004, if I'm being honest. I think it did lead to 2004, and you were thinking that this is going to be forever, you know what I mean? But I suppose that's one of the important things, is to recognise that, it was a brilliant kind of feat to win a Leinster minor, because we don't do it too often.
No, exactly.
Hopefully we get back there, that's what you'd love to see Westmeath competing in finals and underage and 20s and so on.
Yeah, because it's a generation, we were spoiled back then. From 95 to 2005, we had the All-Ireland, you had the Leinster, you had the 3 games against Laois, which just built with excitement. you went then to the 99 to the All-Ireland under 21. You had the All-Ireland or the
under 21 the next
Leinster
year,
in the next year.
You
guys, and then you had the big one then, which all led to it.
Even 2001, the Leinster, remember against Meath, it was really building.
Yeah.
And then to 2004, like you said, yeah.
Great times.
Oh yeah, and like you said, you look at you've representation of all those teams, like, you know, like from our team's perspective, like Donald Dunn was an All-Star nominee in 2004, like, you know, so again, like, you know, huge.
And got his second, got the Leinster medal as well.
Absolutely, yeah, like, you know, so like it was a massive, like, you know, and like you had representation from those 4 teams, 95 to 99 and the 2000 teams, like, you know, you'd really strong good representation.
They were the backbone.
Absolutely,
a lot of it as well.
And like, you know, and success breeds success, like, you know, so, and you can see like there was that win mentality brought through, and then you'd likes of a Rory O'Connell or a Damien Healy there, like, you know, and, you know, they fed into all that, and they were coming on the crest of a wave as well, like, you know, so, and
I know, Liam, you've been very much involved with coaching and stuff like that. Dan, you've been involved as well. Are we working good at underage at the minute? Is there shoots appearing again, green shoots again, that we can look forward to some more good times, do you think?
Well, I'm involved under 12 Mullingar Shamrocks, so I've been at games at under 12 level, at club level, and I have to say the standard of the players are excellent. The amount of, say, former players that are managing, so within under 12 that used to play county football, it's lovely to see the fathers on the sideline. So I definitely think there is stuff coming through the underage, just trying to hone it and bring it on to the county level. And I think hopefully that's where it's going to come back to, that you get back to them days of Leinster finals and push on for All Irelands and so on. But definitely I can speak from being on the sideline at under 12s. There's definitely good footballers at that age group anyway.
You look at like level is very good in the county. Like, there is a good level there, and it's a matter of just, you know, getting that, probably, I don't want to use the word architecture right and all that kind of stuff, and there's loads of good work going on at county board. It's great to see the likes of, I know, the under 15s, Paddy Mulvihill, Dennis Glennon were involved at county development panel or county panel, like, you know, so it's great to see former players linking in with really top class coaches, and, like, you know, to try and amalgamate all that together, like, you know, to try and whatever, to, you know, because again the skills that those players can tell you, like, you know, from a performance point of view is massive, like, you know, and it's
I work in Moat Community School, and the level in schools football in Westmeath is absolutely enormous, you know, it really is. And I suppose if we could just kind of hone in on getting that togetherness, I suppose, is one of the things that you just say, togetherness, and it's a throwaway word, but I suppose if you could bring all these players together and I suppose get that little bit of a break, a little bit of success, you know what I mean, that's what's kind of missing. And as Danny said before, success breeds success. I think in the 25 years since, I think Longford have won 3 minors, you know what I mean, it's not a case of Dublin have dominated for 25 years, you know, they've won 9, and after that then teams have dipped in and out, so there's no reason why we can't. It's just, as I said, that first round, you know, that first win, just to get that bit of momentum, you know, and that's the thing we're missing.
That's the word. The word.
And it's, again, it's like Gary alluded to there, like, you know, back in the day, in our day, it was, they were coming from the south of the county in the bus, and then when we were training down in Maryland, we were coming from the north of the county in the bus. Like, you know, like, I don't know whether that's the case anymore. It's probably a lot of parents bringing people to games and trainings now, I'm not too sure, but again, that goes so much to creating bonds amongst the people, like, you know, and that bit of crack, like, you know, and again, but maybe there might be buses these days, lads have headphones in and all that kind of stuff, and you've got that same connection.
You sound like an old fella.
I know, yeah. But I look like an old fella. I look like an old fella.
There's no headphones.
No, but like, you know, but like in terms of, like, that's the sneer that used to go on, and the bit of devilment that used to go on.
You just used to enjoy the crack.
That's it. Yeah.
If someone in the Star newspaper, like, that was the highlight. You know, Jesus.
You still have a copy of it. Come here for the camera, just for our viewers at home. Gary has brought in his Leinster medal, and just want to see if we can just zoom in on it, because as he said, there's only been 5 groups in our history: 39, 52, 63, 95, and the lads in 2000. So a special commemorative medal as well. So look, lads, I want to thank the 3 of you for coming and joining me here tonight. It's been great reminiscing, and I tell you what, next Saturday night's going to be a hectic night. You know, I think it might be closed doors, or maybe it'll be right to keep it that way, because I think
no camera phones.
No camera phones.
We'll go back in the day.
What goes on tour will be staying on tour. But look at lads, enjoy your night. It was great times 25 years ago. Now don't go away from me for now, because we still have a couple of little bits to do before I finish up here on the podcast. Next Monday night we'll have a member from each of the teams that we've mentioned: the 95 minor winning team, the 99 under 21 winning team, and the 204 team as well, someone from that as well. So that's something to look forward to as well. And certainly if the hour or more will certainly fly by with anything like these three lads on it. So we look forward to that and hope you will tune in to watch that. On the following week then we have a special podcast on well-being and mental health awareness, where we're going to have a special guest. Luke Loughlin is going to join us, so I expect a big interest in that one, and a big lot of people tuned in to hear from Luke on our own social medias stuff, that he can get his message across to the young people of Westmeath, and we look forward to that one. And then of course on the 1st of December, on the Monday night here in Clark's Bar, and we hope to have the presentation to all the players on the teams of the year. And that's nicely cued for me now, because we're going to, last Monday night I didn't announce that I was going to announce two more teams tonight, and we will be announcing the two main senior teams of the year in both football and hurling next Monday night. But for tonight we're going to announce the intermediate football team of the year for 2025 and the senior B hurling team of the year for 2025. I'll start with the senior B hurling team, and the team that our judges picked. Because remember, that's all it is, it's our opinions. In goals, from Oliver Plunkett's Conor Bracken. Full back line, again from Oliver Plunkett's John Fry. Full back is Fahim Brennan from Crooked Wood, and the left corner back is Liam Carey from Oliver Plunkett's. Half back line, Aaron Craig, wing back. Centre half back is Adam Ennis from Delvin, and Alan Cox from Delvin is the other half back. Middle of the field, another Delvin man, Josh Collin, heel partner Shane Ormsby from Oliver Plunkett's. In the half-forward line, Mark Cunningham of Ringtown, Kevin Regan of Cullion, and Dean Ennis from Delvin. And the inside line, Davy Gavin, Oliver Plunkett's, Patrick Pikey Clune from Delvin, and completing the line out, Dara Clinton from Delvin. So again, Conor Bracken, John Fry, Fahim Brennan, Liam Carey, Aaron Craig, Adam Ennis and Alan Cox, Josh Call, Shane Ormsby, Mark Cunningham, Kevin Regan, Dean Ennis, Davy Gavin, Patrick Clune, and Dara Clinton. So congratulations to you guys. You've been part of the Senior B hurling team of the year 2025. The intermediate football team that we picked again, our goalkeeper was Kevin Fagan from Tuberclare. A full back line, Stephen McGonigal, Tuberclare, Cathal Tighe, Tuberclare, and Matthew Scully from Shandona. Half back line, Matthew Gunning from Milltown, Ben Traynor, Shandona, and Taylor Slavin from Tuberclare. Middle of the field, again, Tuberclare's own McCabe and Danny Scahill from Shandona. Half forward line, Matty Whittaker, Tuberclare, Fred Kelleher, Tuberclare, and Jack Duncan from Milltown. And the inside line, Tom Malloy, Shandona, Rona Wallace, Multifarnham, and complete the lineup, Brandon Kelly from Milltown Pass. So again, I'll give you a quick run on that one again. Kevin Fagan, Stephen McGonigal, Cathal Tighe, Matthew Scully, Matthew Gunning, Ben Traynor and Taylor Slavin, Owen McCabe and Danny Scahill, Matthew Whittaker, Fred Kelleher, Jack Duncan, Tom Malloy, Ronan Wallace and Brandon Kelly. So congratulations to the intermediate football team of 2025. And we will be, or somebody from our production team will be in contact with all the winners and details which you'll get and what you're required to do. And we'll have our night here on the 1st of December, all going well. Again, if you enjoyed our show tonight, give us likes. The more we get, the better we like it. Like and subscribe and whatever. Iarmhi TV Podcast. I think that's about it, lads. I want to wish you again, have a great night next Saturday night.
Thanks, Ray.
I might even sneak in there for some of the questions and answers as well. So definitely whetting the appetite, I have to say that. Looking forward to a great night. Thanks very much. Congratulations on 25 years. And unfortunately, we've only lost one, but I suppose it could be worse. And we think of them tonight. Absolutely. And we think of them again on Saturday night. So from myself, Ray Gavin, the three lads here, Tom Brown was on production, that's Scats. To anyone that doesn't know, you heard his name mentioned a good few times here tonight. Jerry Allen is on the camera, and It's goodbye from me.